So I get this question asked a lot. How much does it really cost to live here in the South Hills of Pittsburgh? Well, today we're going to talk about that, and more specifically, we're going to focus on two neighborhoods, Upper St. Clair and Mount Lebanon, and which one costs more. We're breaking it down to the penny. We're going to discuss groceries, taxes, utilities, coffee, parking, and more. So stick around if you want to hear more about this. As always, my friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim Phillips, your local Pittsburgh realtor with the Phillips team here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm here to be your number one trusted guide to everything you need to know before you pack a single box with your move to the Pittsburgh area. Do yourself a favor and hit that like button, ring the bell, and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all the information you need in making a move to the Pittsburgh area. Let's start with property taxes. This is a big one. Allegheny County's current millage rate is sitting at 6.43, which recently went up in 2025 from the previous millage rate being 4.73. This was also the first time the millage rate changed in over a decade here. Upper St. Clair adds a millage rate of 3.83, which is for the township. And the school district adds a millage rate of 31.51, bringing the total millage rate to just below 42. It's actually 41.775 to be exact. So what does this mean in regards to your property taxes? Allegheny County is still assessing properties on a 2012 year basis, meaning the typical home sale at $500,000 are only assessed around $250,000 to $330,000. These assessment values seem to remain under $400,000 for homes that have recently sold for as much as $1.5 million. This will counteract the high millage rates in these areas. For a home purchased around $2.1 million, your taxes would likely be right around $33,000 a year. If your home was assessed at $327,000 for a $500,000 home sale, you could expect to pay around $13,000 in taxes for the year. This comes out to be about $1,083 a month. Now, moving into the Mount Lebanon area, they have a millage rate of 4.5 for their municipality. And their school district adds a millage rate of 30.95, bringing their total millage rate to also just below 42, 41.88 to be exact. So Mount Lebanon is just the slightest bit higher in comparison to Upper St. Clair. But in the bigger picture, both of these neighborhoods are pretty much identical when it comes down to it. So when it comes to property taxes for these two areas, it's a wash. We might as well just call it a tie. Now, you might be asking yourself, where does all that money go? Those are some pretty high numbers in comparison to the national average. Well, your property taxes fund three main areas: county services, municipal services, and schools. The county services are going to fund things like courts, elections, and public health. The municipal services are going to fund things like the police department, fire department, snow removal, and libraries. And as you've probably already noticed, schools, being the biggest line item here, is where most of that money goes. Funding teachers, programs, sports, facilities, and so on. I think it's worth mentioning that some of the municipal services are quite convenient when it comes to living in the Pittsburgh area. Snow removal being a very much appreciated one whenever we get severe weather during the wintertime. Both Upper St. Clair and Mount Lebanon public works departments will start to treat the roads prior to any snowstorms starting, which is just a preventative maintenance plan to help ensure maximum safety with people on the roads. If you decide to move to the Pittsburgh area, you can expect to clean up lots of leaves. You'll find yourself cleaning up leaves during the fall, winter, and spring months. And this can become a rather large task sometimes. And in my personal opinion, Mount Lebanon has the best leaf removal program. So what they do in Mount Lebanon is you can blow all of your leaves to the sidewalk and have this string of a pile down there. And on designated days, a truck will come by with a big vacuum and vacuum up all those leaves, so you never have to deal with bending over, bagging, and putting them to the end of the curb. Upper St. Clair, on the other hand, doesn't have this. You have to bag your leaves here and place them at the end of your driveway. And also, a truck will come by on designated days to pick up your yard waste. So we started with the elephant in the room talking about property taxes. Now let's get into some of these smaller expenses that you may want to consider if you're planning on making a move here. Income tax. This will obviously vary depending on how much you earn in any given year. Both communities charge the same earned income tax at 1.3%. So if you make $120,000 a year, that's about $1,500 annually. And you can add a small $52 local services tax, and you've covered the employment side too. Now let's talk real household costs, like utilities. Take water, for example. The water service in our area is Pennsylvania American Water. These bills are about $105 a month, at least for my family, and that's roughly 4,400 gallons of water every month being used. Just for a frame of reference, my household has 2 adults and 3 children. For your sewage bill, it would be Jordan Tax Services as the provider. And you can expect to pay somewhere between $110 to $135 a month for this service. Now, when it comes to electricity, there's 2 different providers for electricity. You may have Duquesne Light or you may have West Penn Power. These bills will fluctuate because of the changes of seasons and usage of air conditioning, but you could expect your bill to average out to maybe $110 to $125 a month, depending on the size of your home and how cool you want it. So let's move into heat. So our natural gas providers will be either Columbia Gas or Peoples Gas. And just like the electric bills, this one will also fluctuate depending on the severity of the winter seasons. So sometimes we do experience single-digit temperatures during the winter months, and that's obviously going to increase your gas usage to keep your home warm. And also, if you have appliances like a gas stove in comparison to an electric one, that's also going to change your gas usage. So to give you a frame of reference, for the average 2,000 square foot house in our area, you can expect to have an average bill to be around $130 to $160 a month over the course of a year. So if you were to combine all the utilities together, you can expect to pay around $600 to $800 a month. I threw in an extra $200 there for cable and internet because we all know it needs to be factored into the cost, but there's obviously different plans out there that could increase or decrease the cost depending on what you need. So let's talk about parking, because in one area you will have to pay for parking to some degree, but in another area you won't. So let's start with Mount Lebanon. Mount Lebanon meters and parking garages run between $1 to $1.50 an hour. And the parking garages sometimes have an all-day pass where you can pay upwards to $7 to $15 to park there for the day. But don't let this deter you, because Mount Lebanon is so walkable, it doesn't mean that you need to pay for parking everywhere you go. If you're close enough to make a walk to the restaurants and businesses that you want to be, you won't have to pay for parking. But if you are driving there to save distance or time or whatever it may be, you can expect to throw out a couple dollars here and there in order to reserve your parking spot while you do your shopping or eating. Now, parking in Upper St. Clair, it's free everywhere. There are no parking garages or meters. You can go to a Target, Walmart, South Hills Village, anywhere, parks, and there's ample parking, and it's all free. Now, it is worth mentioning too, if you want to take the T, which is the trolley to get you downtown, there are fees associated with that too. And you can access the T from Upper St. Clair, across from South Hills Village, and of course, you can access it throughout the streets of Mount Lebanon as well. Both of these towns are covered by the Pittsburgh Regional Transit T-Line. It's a $2.75 flat fare, or you can pay $7 for a day pass, and they also have monthly pay programs as well. So if you work downtown, you plan on using the T to get there, you might want to factor this into your cost of living. All right, so let's talk some more everyday expenses like groceries, gasoline, and coffee. So groceries are similar across both suburbs. You'll find Trader Joe's in Mount Lebanon, Giant Eagle, Whole Foods, and Target near South Hills Village. Both of these areas border other neighborhoods, so you might find yourself getting most of your groceries at maybe Coons or Shop and Save, or maybe a local market like Heisler's, which is located in the Peters Township area, but it is close to parts of Upper St. Clair. So some of the average prices right now, eggs are sitting around $3.50. Milk is right around $4.13 per gallon. Local coffee shops can be anywhere between $4.75 to $9 for a latte. And like I said, upwards to $9. For example, a local favorite, which is a local traveling coffee trailer, Roaming Bean, they serve nothing but iced lattes, and the cheapest latte you can get is going to be $9. So if caffeine is in your daily life and you like to visit the local coffee shops, you should probably consider what the cost of that's going to look like with your move here. So gasoline across the South Hills averages about $3.25 a gallon. If you commute 12 miles each way, 25 miles per gallon, that's roughly about $68 a month. So overall, it may be wise to consider your caffeinated habits, evaluate realistically what your weekly expenses will look like between groceries, gas, everyday living expenses, and factor all that into your move before moving here. Can you afford that, and how does that fit your lifestyle? Okay, so before we wrap all this up, let's just summarize what all these expenses may look like. Now, disclaimer, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial specialist by any means, and we also did not include any mortgage payment in these numbers that we're providing to you now. So for the Upper St. Clair home that was sold at $500,000, you can expect the property taxes to come in around $1,083 a month, utilities and trash maybe around $400, your income tax might be somewhere around $130 a month, and if you want to use the T to get downtown or gas driving amongst the community or to and from work, maybe $100 a month. In total, it would be roughly somewhere between $1,700 to maybe $2,000 a month, depending on your spending habits and lifestyle. And this is all factored in prior to groceries and dining. And the same applies for Mount Lebanon as well, because both of these areas are so insanely similar, there is no significant outlying factors with them when it comes to this. So ultimately, if you want walkability, boutique shops, cafes, and historic architecture, Mount Lebanon gives you that city suburb feel, but you'll pay with parking and slightly older homes. If you want larger lots, cul-de-sacs, a newer housing stock, and fewer meters to feed, Upper St. Clair is going to be your pick. Especially if you like quick access to I-79 and South Hills Village. So which suburb delivers the most for your money? It's about your value alignment. If you crave walkability, energy, community feel, Mount Lebanon wins. If you want space, privacy, and convenience, and also community energy, Upper St. Clair gives you that. So which one? Upper St. Clair or Mount Lebanon? Ultimately, that's going to be for you to decide. I hope this information was helpful to you, and if I've missed anything that you would like more information on, please send me an email at my email address below, and I'd be happy to give you the information that you're looking for. And if Pittsburgh feels like the next chapter for you, let's start the conversation. Again, send me an email at my email address below and share your goals, your questions, and even your concerns. I'll help you get clear on the neighborhoods, homes, and timing that makes the most sense for you. And if this video gave you value, give it a like, hit subscribe, and turn on that bell, so you'll be ready for more Pittsburgh relocation tips coming your way. I'm Tim Phillips with the Phillips team at Keller Williams here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm here to help you find your perfect place in Pittsburgh.